Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about the most essential welding, metal, fabrication tools that every new beginner metal fabricator should invest in. Whether you're just getting into metalwork or upgrading your existing setup, I've got you covered. Before we get into specific tools, let's talk about why welding and metal fabrication are awesome. You'll be able to build, repair, and create just about anything from metal, from simple projects like custom brackets to bigger endeavors like carports, motorcycle modifications, or even art like what I do in my shop. Getting started doesn't have to break the bank, but investing in some fundamental equipment will make your journey smoother and safer. The first and most crucial piece of equipment is, of course, your welder. For beginners, I often recommend a MIG welder, like what I have right here, this Lincoln. That's a 220 volt welder. I've had it for about 20 years. It works great. It's small, easily portable. And I recommend a MIG welder because it's user friendly, relatively affordable, and works well on most mild steel projects. You just need shielding gas, which comes in tanks roughly like that, or flux core wire, and you're off to the races. I use a MIG welder for most of my projects. The one I have here is, like I said, a Lincoln welder, but there are many other viable options, such as the offering from Prime Weld or Everlast. I'll put a link in the description to a good choice. If you want more precision or plan to work with aluminum or stainless steel, you might consider a TIG welder. Though it does have a steeper learning curve, it can allow for a more precise weld. For heavier structural welding or outdoor work, a stick welder is a rugged and reliable option. The choice depends on your budget and the projects you have in mind. Next up, safety gear. Metal fabrication can be dangerous, so proper PPE should be at the top of your list. First, you'll need a welding helmet, preferably an auto darkening model. I did a great video on a Yes Welder helmet that served me very well. Again, I'll leave a link in the description of the one I'm using. Welding gloves. You can use a true welding glove if you need to, but for the type of welding I do, I can often get away with using a standard leather glove. I use this version from Tillman. Next, fire-resistant jacket or apron. If you think you need it, you can use an apron or a jacket like this one. Safety glasses or goggles. I mostly use glasses and normally wear them underneath my welding hood, which allows me to quickly switch back and forth between welding and metal work. Next, hearing protection. Without a doubt, you need to be wearing hearing protection. I have a couple different types that I use. I have a type that I've used for a very long time. I recently switched to these Klein Airbud type. These allow me to listen to music or a podcast while I'm working. You need to make sure though, if you get the Bud type, it provides real hearing protection. AirPods with noise cancellation do not provide real hearing protection. If there is one tool in a shop that you really can't live without, it has to be the angle grinder. And an angle grinder is essential for prepping your metal, smoothing weld beads, and cutting through steel. You can switch between grinding discs, cutting discs, flap wheels, and wire brushes to handle the variety of tasks. Trust me, once you have one of these, you'll wonder how you ever worked without it. I love them so much, I have more than one. 5 in fact. I keep each one loaded with a different type of attachment. One for cutting, one for grinding, 2 for metal prep, and a bigger one for those tougher jobs where you just need to remove a lot of material quickly. I have a love-hate relationship with this tool, but it really is irreplaceable. Accuracy matters in metalwork. Whether you're building a decorative gate or a steel table, you want everything to fit perfectly. Invest in a good tape measure. If you're just getting started, one is fine. But once you start doing more work and have multiple projects in the works, I often find these not where they should be. So I keep a handful on hand. This one right here is a Cobalt from Lowe's. Pretty simple. I've been buying the Milwaukee ones recently. They're a little bit smaller and they work really, really well. They seem to last a little longer. I have a couple different kinds of squares on hand, but you really can't beat the simplicity of the speed square like this one. One thing you really need is a way to mark the metal. There's 2 different ways you can do this. You can either do this with some soapstone or a scribe. I have a scribe right here, has a tungsten tip, and it lets you scribe metal fairly easy. It leaves a little scratch in the metal, which allows you to know where you're cutting. You need a center punch for drilling pilot holes. A few small steps in layout can save you massive headaches later. Next, we have clamps. Securely holding your work in place is crucial for safety and precision. C-clamps, locking pliers, and welding magnets are some basic must-haves. And what I found out when it when it comes to clamps is that more is better. I started out with these normal C clamps, but they sometimes don't clamp as well as I would like. So I've just started moving on to these larger and more heavy duty F clamps. These ones I ordered on Amazon, just a knockoff to the Strong Hands. They work really, really well. And if you do any type of serious metal work, I think these are a really good investment. They seem to provide more clamping force and allow for some unconventional clamping. Make sure to pick some of these up. You'll thank yourself every time your piece doesn't shift mid-weld. There are some other cutting tools besides an angle grinder, even though that's the one you need to start out with. Once you get further along, there's some tools that will speed up the cutting process. So this next tool is definitely not something you need when you're just getting started. And even today, I don't use this very much. But there are projects where your angle grinder with a cutting wheel might just not be the right tool for the job. I know, surprising. If that's the case, it may be time to move on to a plasma cutter or a torch. Plasma cutters are great for precise, quick cuts. Oxyacetylene torch is versatile for cutting and also for brazing and bending metal. These can come with a higher price tag, but they're fantastic long-term investments if you're serious about metal fabrication. I would be setting you up for failure if I didn't mention all the consumables that you are more than likely going to need to complete your project. Welding wire, spare grinding discs and flap wheels, possibly anti-spatter spray, metal cleaner and degreaser, writing implements like markers, pencils, and pens, welding gas. Having a stocked supply shelf means fewer last-minute runs to the hardware store. Starting out, your biggest investments will be the welding machine and your safety gear. While it's tempting to buy the cheapest tools, remember that better quality gear can improve your welds and last a whole lot longer. If budget is tight, consider buying a mid-range welder and slowly adding tools over time as you grow your skills. And one last thing, MIG tank selection. I would not get too small of a tank, because what ends up happening is you run out of gas on a weekend and you get this real small tank and you need to go get more. So I recommend getting like a mid-size one. A big tank is neat because you never run out of gas, but they often become way too much of a pain in the butt to move around. So I recommend either getting an 80 cubic foot or a 120 cubic foot tank, and that should give you enough gas to get through most of the projects, and also it's not too small where you'll run out and it's easy to move around. So that's what I recommend. And there you have it, my top recommendations for essential welding and metal fabrication tools for the beginner. With the right equipment and plenty of practice, you can tackle a huge range of metalwork projects. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel. For more tips and tricks and tutorials, let me know in the comments what project you're planning to tackle first or what your favorite tool is. Also, I've just started a Patreon page. You can go there and follow me and see some pretty cool upcoming exclusive content. Until next time, stay safe, keep creating, and I'll catch you in the next one.